living quarters in the back. So what else went on, I don't know. I've never, nobody ever, nobody ever, and that I remember it was made out of adobe, and it eventually, I guess, it crumbled and it went into disrepair, and they knocked it down. But I remember going down there. I remember one incident when I had to be about probably 3-4 years old, and somebody was sick, and I think it was Aunt Chaya that was sick, and my mother made me get down and pee in a container. Now I don't know if that was used for medicinal purposes or what, but I remember being in that bedroom, and I couldn't have been more than 3, 4, or 5 years old at the most.
It's interesting.
You know, you go back in those days, and you know they would use all kinds of concoctions to get you well. So there was another cantina further in the 50s that was started by the Peñas. Frank Peña.
Really?
Yeah, Frank Peña opened up a cantina right there, right at the Springbrook Wash. It's right where the clubhouse is, when the golf course was there. It used to be right across the street, right next to the creek. And I remember coming home one weekend, and we all went in there, and I was married at the time, and I think my wife's girlfriend and somebody else. We went in there, and a fight broke out. The Hells Angels were there.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, a big fight broke out. They let us go because we had ladies with us. And I remember coming back the next week, and I come cruising by there on Orange Street, and it was just 4 walls standing. They burnt the place down.
I'm familiar with it.
Well, what I heard about it was that it rivals the Napa Valley, right?
Yes.
It's a rival to the Napa Valley. And I've got a picture of, I think it was the Peñas that my aunt found at some savings and loan, and it showed a couple or 3 people standing in front of this house, and I think it was in that Berryessa Valley, and she said that they used to own that valley at one time. The Peñas did. Mm-hmm.
Well, landowners at some point or another, right?
Yeah.
We have to do it all.
Okay, we're ready.
Water rights.
Okay, the water rights, originally everybody had wells in that neighborhood, and it was just it was a diagonal line from the Santa Ana River running diagonally. Orange Street is like this, and that line ran about, just Orange Street is right here, and it ran just like this, that line, and everybody had a well almost in the identical spot, but you know, further down, ice, cold, good water. Well, the city came in and they told all the people there, if you give up your water rights, we will give you city water. So everybody signed away their water rights. So they had to do away with their wells. And so we all got city water at the time. Whether it was a good idea or not, I mean, I wouldn't want to drink water from a well now.
Well, yeah.
You know, because of septic tanks and things like sewer or cesspools and things like that. Everybody that used to farm there used to get their water from the canal. And there was actually 2 canals. The first intake for one of the canals was at I think as you go down La Cadena heading that way, to the left, as you get to the Santa Ana River to the left, they put their inlets right there. And then they transported the water over the hills. Mm-hmm. Over the La Loma Hills, they called them. They transported the water over that, and then in flumes, and then it came down through the Placita, and down, I heard, through Fairmont Park and down that way. And they had to do away with that.
We did all sorts of things together. But what's your earliest memory going to the adobe for anything in particular, or, you know?
Well, let's see, back in that house was there, it was built in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. And I remember it, you know, vividly, just because I'd been in it 100 times, more than that. And the whole neighborhood was scattered. You know, there was just a house here, a house there, and everybody was interrelated. You know, they were all brought to that area by one of the landowners. It was either Bandini or Lugo. Bandini was one of the landowners that owned Bandini Avenue. He owned everything southwest of this area. And Lugo, San Bernardino. Now, I can't remember which one sent his foreman to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to bring back anybody that wanted to come and protect their land from the marauding Indians that used to come down from the mountains and steal all their cattle and horses. So anyway, the foreman went down there and he brought back the Trujillos, the Espinosas, Garcia. I don't know about the Garcias, but I know they were in the neighborhood. Atencios, and they all built, but they built on the other side of the Santa Ana River, over behind Slover Mountain, where the Colton Portland cement plant was. That's where they had their settlement. And the reason they came out was because that landowner promised them so much acreage if they'd come down and protect their land and all their cattle and horses. Well, he reneged on the deal. And that's when the other landowner took over. And I wish I could remember which one it was. But anyway, he says, you come and work for me, he says, and I'll give you the same. Well, I think a big flood hit somewhere in that time frame. So they all moved on this side of the river. That's where the adobe is right now. And that's when the adobe was built. And the San Bernardino County line was right next to the adobe, maybe not even 100 yards away. So there's a little creek there. And on the north side was San Bernardino County. On the south side was Riverside County. And the adobe was on the Riverside side. And I just barely found out last year there was another school there. The other school was around the corner on Orange Street, going towards the river in San Bernardino County. And I never knew it was there until I read an article by one of the people here from Riverside, and it mentioned it. Because the Garcias used to live right across the street from the school, a little rock house. And we're related to the Garcias because my uncle married one of the Garcias. And I can't ask him if my aunt went to school there because she passed away. But I never knew that school was there until now. The other school, they were all grammar schools. The other school was as you're going down Orange Street and you turn up Center Street on the right-hand side. That other grammar school was right there on the right-hand side. And there's a pepper tree there. I think it was right in that location where that second school was. But the adobe house set in the back and over to the left of it as you drive in the driveway was, I called her Aunt Chaya. Her sister lived there, Katie, and she was married to Jim Acquist. They lived on the corner. So they lived here, the adobe house was here, and then what they call the salon, which was an adobe two-story building. Used to be a pool hall and whatever else, I don't know. But it was run by, I think, the Trujillos at the time. And then right next to it, right next to the creek, was another little house where your grandma and grandpa used to live. Right next to the creek, I remember that. And that was the only houses in that one area right there where the adobe is. The rest of the houses were further south. Let's see, the next house, there was a dairy down there across from the Garcias, the Palasier Dairy. And there was something like 400 acres in there, and the Palasiers had a dairy there. And the city of Riverside offered it to the state to build San Bernardino College there, the University of San Bernardino. And they turned it down because they were afraid of the river. So that's why they built the University of San Bernardino up in where they're at now, in the Cajon Pass. But anyway, you come further south, and the next street down was Placencia. Right on the corner was the Espinosas. Right across the street was the Atencios. Just to the north of them was more Trujillos. And one thing I can't understand is that the Trujillos have never mentioned that they were related. I don't know, something happened somewhere in the past. It happened in the past, but I've never gotten the true story on it. But they've never admitted that they were all related, and they are.
Well, I think it had to do with money. There was a big divide with people getting the water rights, and people who had the gold, and so a lot of that tore out the family, because again, some people got property and some people didn't.
Yeah, okay.
So that was.
Well,
really-
that's the story then, because they never admitted that they were related. And I've been to both, both families' houses,
I grew up in one family like that.
so I don't know.
I didn't know there were so many of us.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of them, that,
Well, and a lot of it too, especially like in my family, my dad did marry within the community of the area. His wife Ruth was from, she was Mexican descent.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a big issue when they got married.
Wow.
And his family did talk to him for a while. Choke, leaky, yeah, they did.
All of them, huh?
Yeah, they did talk for a while because it was a big issue. He was expected to marry kind of within the area.
Goes back to the old times, huh? Well, but it always baffled me why these people never admitted to the fact that they were related. So I don't know what happened. Let's see, who else lived in that neighborhood? There was a family named Woods that lived next to my Aunt Priscilla and Uncle Raymond, which were Contrerases. Across the street was more Espinosas. And I have some maps at home that showed where the different families. I had a bigger collection, but I think I loaned them out and I never got them back. I had a lot of history on that.